Hello everyone, this is Parfum Coast, so welcome to my channel. Today's video, or rather podcast, is fully dedicated to the new release of 2025, which is called L'Interdit Le Parfum by Givenchy. So without further ado, let's jump into the ocean of perfumes. So L'Interdit line is the one that's quite famous and popular, of course, going back to as early as 1960s. Initially created apparently exclusively for Audrey Hepburn, but later on spreading to wider public and up-to-date, providing yearly flankers that we'd get to enjoy. One of my absolute favorites back in the 90s was Fleur d'Interdit release, which is obviously long discontinued by now, but that was a beautiful floral, fresh, clean scent, the way I remember it at least. By the way, let me know if you remember that one as well. But current L'Interdit DNA itself heavily relies on tuberose note, of course, that's done in a very specific Givenchy-like way. It's sweet, bubblegummy, and non-indolic. So then, before I pass on to the flanker, the fragrance of the day actually, let me remind you of some flankers that I have in my collections and get to enjoy as well, especially in case if you don't have them. So the first one that I'd like to mention is called L'Interdit EDP Intense. And very quickly, let's get reminded of the notes that Ogrentica is listing. So on the top, we've got black pepper. In the middle, there's tuberose and sesame, and also orange blossom. And finally, in the base, there's Madagascar vanilla, patchouli, and vetiver. So this flanker is famous for the strong presence of sesame seeds note. This note comes out in a matter of seconds after initial spray. This perfume to me is the most unique in this line, whilst of course being an unmistaken L'Interdit DNA release. So this release, as said before, contains this sesame seed note, which delivers tones of sweetness, nuttiness, and a bit of creamy vibe. Tuberose DNA of L'Interdit line is here too, but spicy, nutty accord prevails, and because of this DNA, it never gets too gourmandy or cloying, which makes this scent very versatile as far as season of wear is concerned. Then, in 2023, there came another release, which is called L'Interdit Burning Neroli. So, equally to the previous one, let's get reminded of the notes. And the notes are not that numerous. On the top, we've got Neroli, in the middle, there's patchouli, and finally, in the base, we've got vetiver. Now, this limited edition of 2023, that's by now is discontinued, of course, but it's, I would say, the least L'Interdit DNA containing wine. As the name suggests, this release capitalizes heavily on Neroli, and Neroli in here is sweet, a bit citrusy, overall quite powdery and earthy in the dry down. The burning nature, which is also sort of a semantic part of this fragrance, is not heavily coming alive on my skin, but there's certainly some residual of this quality, probably achieved by the way this Neroli forward scent is composed along with earthy notes of vetiver and patchouli. As we can see from the notes list, there is no tuberose in here that, largely underpins L'Interdit DNA, as said before, which is probably why this release to me is the least resembling L'Interdit line. But very high quality, versatile Neroli scent that I strongly recommend as a classic release dedicated to this gorgeous white floral. So, and finally, the release of this year, 2025, as said before, it's called L'Interdit Le Parfum. So let's look at the notes that Ogrentica is listing here. So the notes are quite numerous. So what we've got on the top is pear, bitter almond, and apple. In the middle, there's tuberose, of course, jasmine and mimosa. In the base, we've got quite a composition of balmy notes such as benzoin, myrrh, and apopanax. And also we've got patchouli and vetiver. So the first spreads gave me distinct L'Interdit DNA, especially on a paper strip. On skin, however, there's much more to this release. So mind you, experience on paper and skin are very different. So on skin right away, I'm getting tones of fruitiness coming from combination of juicy sweet pear and a touch of tuberose and mimosa. At this point, this reminds me of Montblanc's signature release, and indeed, perhaps it's combination of tuberose and mimosa that creates this ylang-ylang resemblance that Montblanc signature contains. But if Montblanc signature combo is composed by clementine and ylang-ylang, here it's a pear tuberose and mimosa mixture. So there we have it, a pear-forward sweet juiciness on a touch of L'Interdit DNA. As the scent develops, that's where heavier base notes step in, such as benzoin, myrrh, and apoponax, also vetiver. These notes massively ground the initial playful and airy character of this flanker, providing a bit of balmy and a touch of smoky accord to my nose. But amazing thing is that whilst being anchored by those earthy balsamic notes, the perfume itself nicely preserves its sweet floral pear fruitiness. Which is why I really think this perfume will be a fantastic offer for early autumn days, where we'll be stepping into colder days with sun still shining bright, but not as warm as it used to be in the recent summer days. And that's exactly how, this fragrance is done and what it emulates. The residual summer character stressed by sweet fruity floral accord, and at the same time strongly reminding us of colder season we actually have, where warmth and earthiness of myrrh, benzoin and apoponax will be a helping tool, as if giving association with beautiful golden leaves of autumn season. In the deeper dry down, this beautiful fruity balmy juxtaposition remains, but now it also has this amplified spiciness, which to my nose, maybe in combination with other notes, creates this almost citrusy, sparkly touch that's also very intriguing. All this again sits on a heavy tuberosy L'Interdit base, so a big recommendation overall to test out in anticipation of coming autumn especially, but please do it on skin if you can, as the experiences on paper and skin are very, very different, as said before. But that's it, guys. This is all about today's video. If you found it of any use, if you've liked it, please give it a like. Please consider subscribing and sharing your comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.